let's do something totally different. We'll call it the original mediumship talk.
All right, good.
Right, so off the cuff, there we go. Being original. So what this talk is going to be about is there's many mediums out there that are trying to do their best, but they end up copying other mediums, like copying their style, copying their way of doing things, and trying to be like them, because trying to be like them, they feel that then they're doing a good job as a medium. But what we've noticed in most students is to let go of the idea of trying to be as good as the medium that you've been learning from, or trying to be the same style as the medium that you've been trying to learn from, and to know that your own personal style is good enough, right? And I'm sure Kay will agree with me on this, because it's like Harry Edwards wrote in his book years ago. It was going on, like, you know, in 1900s, it was going on. He wrote in his book that mediums should not look at other mediums to learn to do it that way, because we're not looking for copies, we're looking for originals. And he said that the power manifests with every medium in a different way. And so in that way, you may not be someone that's hearing all the names and hearing all the addresses and hearing all that, but you may be bringing the essence through that is so important. And not to forget that the spirit world have chosen the people to come to you to enjoy your mediumship, not a copy of someone else's mediumship, how it should be done. Me and Kay itself have both been to the Arthur Findlay. We've been to the Arthur Findlay College. We've been doing a lot of work on ourselves in that way. But then at the end of the day, you take that home, you absorb it, and you contemplate it and say, okay, where am I in all of this? For, you know, mastering mediumship is mastering yourself, right? And I'll say that again, mastering mediumship is mastering yourself. Because once you've mastered yourself and you know who you are and what you can do and what are your limitations and what are your achievements, and you can believe more in yourself. And when you can do that, that's when you can be of greater service to humanity.
Yes.
Yeah, this was the topic we talked about, Kay.
Is it?
No.
I don't think it was, but it's all right. I mean, part of when we do our mediumship, we have to allow our own self, our own personality to come through, because that's what makes you unique as a medium anyway. So you have to allow yourself to be a part of that. So one of the things that I love to do is bring, I'm always cutting up and I'm sarcastic, really, but you can't bring sarcasm into your mediumship. You really can't.
No, so I could just see it for me. Someone's going, I want to know about my future relationship. And you're like, yeah, right. I know what you're like. No, it wouldn't work.
No, that wouldn't work. But, you know, I always do sarcasm in a fun way. I don't, do it to tease anybody, but it's always in a fun way. And I know who I can do that with. But in my mediumship, I love it when I can bring in the humor. I love it when spirit will work through me in that way and present it in a way that we can all have a good laugh, especially if you bring somebody through who's the evidence is a little bit heavy, or it touches emotions that make us sad, the recipient sad or whatever. I like to bring that humor back into there to make it fun and light. But that's me as a person anyway. I like to laugh and have fun with stuff. So I try to bring that into the mediumship as well. So, hey, Sue. We have to bring our own personality. We have to be our own medium. We just have to be.
Yeah. And all those years ago, Harry Edwards was right about it. He said there's too many people just copying, and it's not really helping the spirit world, because you've been chosen as a medium for your uniqueness. You've been chosen for a medium because you're unique for who you are, and your expression of how that power manifests with you is what the spirit world need, you know. Yeah, and that's the needs, because you think about it, you may not be someone that's got all, you may not have all the facts right, but when you get into the essence, they may receive the healing that's needed to be given. And that's something to remember about, is because mediumship is about bringing that healing, right? And in that way, when mediumship is done in the right way, and it's not always the evidence that does it. You know, the evidence just leads you in a demonstration to the participant that you find, okay, that's who I'm with. And then it's that energy, it's that spark of divinity, it's that spark of the spirit that comes through you as a medium and touches the soul of the person you're connecting with. And that, for that to happen, that's when you need to be in the blending. That's when you need to be like, just letting that spirit come through the way that spirit wants to express it. And the words that you say at that moment, when you're in connection in that way, so your connection with spirit coming through you into your spirit, touching someone else's soul, that could change them for the rest of their lives. That could bring about change for them for the rest of their lives. And that's the power of what mediumship really can do, you know. And it's amazing, because I've had many contacts, but there's many contacts from the stage, from platform. I've had many contacts from students, and there's only the very few that come through, and I think that has touched me in my soul. I know that that's gonna, you know, it's you think about how you got into mediumship. When spirit touched your soul, there was no going back. When spirit came in and touched your soul and let you believe without a shadow of a doubt that life continues, no one need to tell you that life continues, because you just thought, I know now. How do you know? I don't know how I know, but my soul knows, right? And that's what happens when you do mediumship right and it touches someone in their soul. The quickening happens, the change happens. They can spiritually change. They can release tension, problems, anger, all these things that they probably had for their loved ones that they couldn't sort out when they were here. And that's the healing it can bring.
Right. And we always want to be working towards touching the soul of the recipient as well as the communicator as well. But we have to be able to bring that in. For me, I'm able to do that mostly through the essence of the person, to bring that in and then to allow that. And it's not until I feel or they feel, you always know, let me just back up for just a second. You always know when you've done that, because that's when they get that, you know, moment, or the tear starts to fall, where you know you've touched the soul and you've made an impact with them. I know that for myself, one of the most powerful readings, I said that I know I had this conversation last week, but I don't remember what group it was that I had it. So if you've heard it, I apologize. But the most powerful reading I ever had was with a medium who didn't think she was a very good medium. She had no confidence in what her ability was. And she was afraid to do readings, and she gave me a reading, and she brought my granddad through, and she gave evidence that no one's ever given before. And when she did, when she brought in those pieces of evidence, it touched me, and I was having to fight back the tears. And it was at that moment where she touched me, I felt him. And I've had lots of mediums bring my granddad through, and I've never felt him. Never. They bring the evidence is there, and it's correct, but I've not felt 10. But when she did, she brought through the two pieces of evidence that are the most significant to me, and it touched me. And it was like, you know, and I told her, I said, that was the most powerful reading I've ever had. And I've had readings by tutors in the college. That hands down was the most powerful, only because it touched me. It just touched me. So, you know, that's what we want. You know, we want to always try to go for that. Latifu, you're raising your hand? Are you raising your hand?
Yes, I'm raising my hand.
It says Latifu raised your hand. Oh.
Raised hand, question.
Oh, okay, good.
Really, or comment. As you were talking, I was reflecting back over my developing mediumship, which is still continuing and always will. And the challenge that I have had with this is studying under some mediums in some situations, which I'll not name, and you're specifically required to follow a pattern. You know, it's like you come in and you have your mediumship style and you give it, and it's like, okay, do this. Now you have to do this, and do this. And it's not necessarily a continuation, but it's something different. So I've found a challenge in meeting those requirements and, you know, and still holding on to myself. And I think that began to not be a problem in terms of working with someone else, but specifically in terms of working with you guys. So I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah. I know what you mean, because there are some tutors, also in the Arthur Findlay College, and also tutors that travel and teach people in different places. They say you have to follow this certain pattern of getting your information. And of course, that's their way of doing it, right? And you learn that way. But then when you take that back and you digest it and you say, okay, but what is my way? Now, I've actually spoken to some students that have tried to do it by following the list way and getting the list and getting the evidence, and getting this and getting that. And they get all mixed up, and they end up going in their head, and they can't get the essence of the person anymore, and they feel all in a big knot. And then I've said, I've just taken them for a bit and got them into the essence again, said, okay, let's work with the essence. And just let go of what you've learned, right? Because at the end of the day, everything that we've learned in other classes, right, is foundation. That's how you should see it. It's not that you have to stick to that foundation all the time. We were practicing the evidence things last week with me, Kay, and some people that came to the workshop. And that evidence, we said, okay, do it like this. In a workshop, you do it to see what stretches, what comes, how can the evidence unfold in a different way, and what the possibilities are. But obviously, when you're going to take that for yourself and take it home and contemplate it, you're not going to be wanting to do that style all the time, right? It used to be, years ago, you had to get 10 bits of evidence, and when you got 10 bits of evidence, you give that, and that's what it is. That's how it used to be. That's, you know, when I go back 10 years, that's what, no, probably more than that, 15 years, 10 bits of evidence, you give that, and that's how it's done. And then, but then that got changed to 5 bits of evidence. And then when you give you 5 bits of evidence, specific evidence, then you go to your, and that's all good. But if you have an analytical mind that works that way and works with pictures and as well, then it will work. But if you're a medium that doesn't see pictures, is not very good in feeling, but only has clair knowing, like you know, the claircognizance, then you're going to struggle trying to do exercises that are like that. So in that way, it's sometimes you just got to say to people, take a step back, look at where you are now, forget everything you've learned, right? How does spirit connect with you, what is the first thing spirit do when they connect with you? Do they show you pictures? Do they connect through the feelings? What's the first thing that they do when you connect? And that's your strongest beginning of your mediumship at this moment in time. And every moment changes, but then you can work with that, and that's the thing to remember. So I always say to students that come to me when they're coming for evening classes, forget everything you've learned and you'll learn a lot more. Because if you're holding on to old things that didn't work for you, right, then you're going to continue holding on to old things that didn't work for you. But if you let go of it and say, I'm going to learn like I'm a child and I'm just going to let go and just do it, then you'll have more chance that you'll learn more and open up to more stuff, you know? So see, people have been writing some stuff, I see.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I noticed yesterday I was giving a reading, and I tend to use my clairsentience. I go to the essence of the person. That's usually what happens with me. In the very, very beginning, it was all clairvoyance, and then it switched to this. And my clairvoyance comes in later. As I get going into the reading, my clairvoyance comes in. But yesterday I noticed I was getting some evidence, or spirit was working with me in a different way. And it was interesting because it was like, never had that happen before. So I know we talked about this last time, but you have to be open to allowing spirit to come in and work with you whatever way they choose. And I know that when I first started, I was given that list that I had to do, and what it caught, what Jason said earlier, it caused me to go into the head. And when I went into the head, it got all messed up and fumbled. I couldn't work that way, but I'm not that way in life. I can't. I'm not organized. I just go with the flow. And what I found was I ignored the tutor. Probably shouldn't have, but I did. And I just allowed spirit to come in. And when I would allow spirit to come in, the evidence just flowed. It just flowed.
And that's something, that's something that, Kay, that's something that you've learned now to trust. That's how spirit worked with you.
That's how spirit works with me. And, in the very beginning, I was expected to get names, dates, anniversaries, and passing on every reading. I don't hardly ever get any of those, ever. Yesterday I did, but not, normally I don't. Normally I don't feel how they pass. Normally I don't remember anybody's name. I don't remember my name on most days. I don't remember dates. I forget dates. I don't remember them. So why would spirit want to bring that kind of information to me if it's difficult for me in life? But when they do, I celebrate it and I give it, because it doesn't come often. And like I said yesterday, I was getting information that I normally don't get. I was getting yesterday. So it was, for me, it was like, okay, that's cool. That's great. Yep, let's go there. Let's open it up and go.
So that's good. That's a good point, Kay, because there's many people here that might say they don't get that sort of information, but they get the essence, and the essence is how the spirit connects. And and if that's the way the spirit connects to you, and then you end up putting yourself into a different box, and you say, I've got to get it now like this, and I've got to work with pictures, but you might not even get pictures. You might be someone that just gets the feelings. And I get some people in group, they say, yeah, but I only get the feelings, I don't get the pictures. Everyone else gets the pictures, so I'm not a good medium. I said, no, but do you know how much information you can get from just the feelings? it's like unbelievable. Like you can get the essence of how somebody lived, how they were, what is their character, how did they feel about their work. There is so much you can get from it. It's just investigating and trusting that that's the way mediumship works with you. And other people, they get it from claircognizance. They don't know how they're getting it. They're sitting there, I don't know how I get it. It just plops in, and they don't feel it. They don't see it. And then they're like, yeah, they just don't know. And then, you know, to trust in that, that's the thing, to trust in how it connects to you, how the spirit connects to you. And that's what makes you unique as a medium. And that's what makes you unique within this. And that's what we need. We need more people that are unique than people that are copies of something else, you know. I always say to people, when you go to class, you're learning something, take it away, digest it, take it home with you, and then do it in your own way. Find out what it is and how the spirit first connects to you. That's the main thing. The only thing is, what I've noticed is when I'm demonstrating, sometimes they stand behind me and I can see them. Sometimes I don't see them, I can only feel them. And I'm like, okay, we're going to work like this today, are we? Sometimes you just know they're there and it's very faint, but you know they're there. And so every day it can be different. And that's something to trust in. And when you're doing loads and loads of readings and you're doing loads and loads again and again and again, it can get like, it's going to be one of those, or it's going to be one of those. And then we miss the essence of what we're doing. And then we end up playing safe and not stretching ourselves or not looking for more, you know. I'm sure people that do lots of readings have said, I've given this reading and I thought I'd given everything. And afterwards they said, yeah, but I was hoping to hear more about this. And the only reason it didn't come through is because we're focused at what we already think that we know, or how spirit communicates with us. If we opened ourselves up that little bit more, we may have become aware of more information that was available at the time. It doesn't mean that we've done a bad job. It just means that's something that we need to open and look at and see what's supposed to happen. But what I believe truly is that every private sitting you give, every sitting or connection you give with the spirit world is the best that you can do, the best that you can be. It's good enough because you turned up and you did the work. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Any questions on that or anything else? Oh, wait, here's one, Rini. Do you think that possibly it was how the spirit wanted to communicate with the person or the sitter?
Yeah, because you might have let's put it this way. If I take my brother as an example, in the beginning, if I went to a medium and the medium was bringing them through and they'll be asking him, how did you die? He wouldn't tell them because he was quite embarrassed about the way he passed. And he would know that I wasn't ready to hear the truth. I would have been too hurt from it. So do you think that's how the spirit wanted to communicate? Yes, every time it's how the spirit wants to communicate. I've had people coming in and they want to know about certain information, but spirit gives you other information because they're trying to protect them, or they don't want to talk about that, because talking about the passing can be very, very emotional for people, that they're not ready for it. And I know I wasn't ready for it. And it took me about 2 years until I was ready to hear that. And when I was ready to hear it, I heard it again and again and again through different mediums, how he passed. And I was ready to hear it. I was healed in that way. He was obviously healed in that way. And then communication could take place. I think that's the thing to remember. You know, you are dealing with people in the spirit world, because they're not just, you know, energies, they're people. And they have emotions, and we are people and we have emotions. But when we grow and when we mend and when we heal, that's when communication can change, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. We also have to remember that we're working on a soul level. So it's our soul connecting with their soul, whether they're in the spirit or we're doing psychic. And so we have to, take all that into account as well. The empathy and understanding how to deliver it, and understand that spirit is a soul just like us. And there are some things spirit doesn't want to go to. Just, like Jason, my dad has, the illness that he had was not a pleasant time for him. And he doesn't rarely ever want to talk about it because it was so difficult for him. So we have to remember that. There's still a spirit, there's still a soul, and they still remember. They've not been gone from this world long enough to separate from that. It's still very real to them. Yeah. Got it. So Sue has a question. Have either of you done mediumship for something other than evidence for sitters wanting to hear from their families or friends? For instance, gaining information about something in history. Like I do soul readings, or readings where I, when I say soul reading, like what is their spiritual, on a spiritual aspect. I've done those kinds of things, but I don't go fishing for specific kinds of information. Jason, I don't think you do either, do you?
No. Have either of you done mediumship, something other than evidence for sisters wanted to hear from family, friends? I have only done that like with a guy that would never meet his father. And he said he'd like to know, because his father's alive, so what is the essence of his father? So psychically, I would feel into the essence of his father and give evidence of stuff that would resonate with him within his own character that he would have received from his father, because he'll never meet his father. And that's something that's more in a psychic way, investigating in that father's line, and also genetically going into that and seeing that the lad that was here had brown eyes, but I see in that line blue eyes. So I said, don't be surprised if one of your children has blue eyes, because it's in that side of the family. And also certain characteristics. So that was really searching for information in that line, because he would never know that, because he's never going to meet his father, he's never going to know his biological father, and he's never going to know about that part of the family. And that's psychic work. But
is that what you meant?
Anything mediumistically, I don't think I have really gone into history, maybe ancestry with some people, but yeah.
I mean, I've given readings to people where the family history comes up. There was a gentleman in the first circle I ever sat in who had an amazing history of his family, and he was researching his family's escape from the Russian rule and all that they went through. And that kind of stuff would come up in readings for him as he was piecing it all together and writing the book of his family, because apparently they were a quite well-to-do family that was trying to escape and was in hiding, and was all kinds of interesting stuff. But that came from spirit.
Yeah.
That came from his family in the spirit world, which was very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sue says more like spirit, you don't know, not related, just to get their experiences and thoughts. I think the information that comes through mostly in contacts it comes through naturally. And if spirit want to talk about that, it comes through. Of course, I mean, you can go into ancestry, history, whatever, but it's got to be, there's got to be a door open. It's got to be natural. You can look at it like, I find it very easy to mind travel either psychically or mediumistically. Yeah, I normally let things come naturally. So has anyone else got a question for us about the originality of spirit, the originality of mediumship, being original?
Yeah. This question that Sue just said, more like spirit you don't know. This question came up the other day in a conversation that I had. And it's my understanding that people in the spirit world, like famous people, aren't going to pop in on us unless we've got somebody with us that is somehow connected to them. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about, Sue, but I'm not sure. But, you know, a lot of people, you know, say that famous people will come and talk with them, but it's my understanding that that won't happen unless you are connected to somebody that they know.
So who's got a question? Who's got a question? Come us with a question.
Yeah. Nobody?
So while we're going with that, it's like, I think another thing to remember, like, the power of you is your own personality. So the power, your own life's power is your own personality. So when you can bring your personality into your mediumship, that's when you're bringing your own power to the table. Like the spirit person that connects, they bring their own power, but your power is your own personality, your own traits. And that's what people come for. Yeah, Latifu.
Yes. Oh, it just went out of my mind. It was a question that I asked on Saturday, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. Oh, okay. I'm preparing for mediumship, preparing for demonstrations. Where when I joined in on Saturday, I hadn't sat in the power. You know, I got Kay's message. She roped me in. And immediately when I got in, she, you know, assigned me to demonstrate. And I hadn't sat in the power. And usually before I demonstrate, I make it a habit to sit in the power at least 15 to 20 minutes. So because I hadn't done that, I was concerned that I wouldn't be able to make a connection, and was surprised when I did.
Yeah.
For me, it's all about setting that intent. So the moment you say, okay, I'm about to work, spirit comes. And that's just the way it is. I mean, it's happened to me. I did a dim the other night in front of an audience I wasn't planning to do. And just like that, I was like, okay, let me just switch here. And I stepped right into the power and did it. And I hadn't done anything either. So it's about intent. You set the intent, your power raises, spirit steps in. Yeah,
absolutely. And that comes on to the question about what are the funny things you do to get ready for your mediumship. That was the question.
That's what the question was.
That's what the question was. What are the funny things you do to get ready for a demonstration or private sitting? And it's like I mean, I used to have to have a shower, make sure I was clean, put on some good clothes, make sure I was well shaven, get ready, put on the best stuff. And once I was all dressed up, ready to go, then I was preparing myself for spirit. Then I'd be sitting in the power before I'd left. Of course, I'd be having my power nap in the afternoon. Then I'd be getting ready. Then I'll get there at least an hour beforehand. Then I'll be sitting in the power before I went on stage to demonstrate. And then, oh yeah, and I'll probably say a couple of prayers while I was at it. Then I would probably pace up and down and go for a walk. And then I was ready to demonstrate. That's how it used to be. Now I turn up half an hour before, I drink a cup of coffee and I start.
Yeah.
But I still go through the funny things. So I still make sure I have to look nice for the spirit world. That's what I do, because I'm representing the spirit world, something I just believe in. But it's like when I get there, I don't need. I'm already in the power. I believe I'm already in the power. So then I don't need to change anything or to do anything. It's that first song that plays. That's what gets the power right. This is not the spirit world behind me, by the way. This is just my green screen playing games.
I find also that my spirit team starts, I can just feel them. My clairsentience starts heating up. I always get real warm where my clairsentience is, my solar plexus. And I know that I'm about to step in my power, because they let me know, because that starts happening. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting ready to work. And then I can step in. But I was just like Jason, I used to do all the rituals as well. Because mostly, as I look back on it, I feel mostly because it was just my nerves. And it was a way of me prolonging the inevitable of that I was going to have to stand up and work or do a reading. But I did do that. The only ritual that I have right now is I think I'm addicted to sage, and I know I'm addicted, but I love to just light the sage just a little bit, and I don't use sage for clearing negative energies and stuff like that. I just use sage as a ceremonial kind of thing. And it's just a signal that, okay, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm going to work. And I do that. But, just like the other night, that didn't happen. I didn't, because I didn't realize I was going to work. And I had to just step in. Yeah.
But it's like going to Dublin. By the time our flights got there, and then we got to Dublin, and it was late, and all we had time for was to get showered, get changed, get your stuff in, and go to the demonstration. So sometimes you don't have time to prepare.
Don't have time. You
just got to turn up,
Well, that happened to us, Jason, with Dave, when we were going to Cambridge, and we got lost. A little bit lost. We left a little late, and then we got a little lost.
Yeah.
And then searching, trying to find the lady's phone number to say, hey, we're on our way. Don't wait for us. We're on our way. She had to give us a little bit of directions. We walked in the building straight up to the platform, sat down and started working. We had no time to do anything. And with all the chaos and the stress, you still have to step into it and just trust. You just trust that spirit's going to be there.
And that's it. It's trust. And so the funny things you do, you don't need to do. But if it makes you feel better, then you do it. It's like, I know someone, they used to put I know someone that's a medium, that they put magnets in certain places on their body. They put stones in certain places on their body. They make sure that they've got the right clothes on, all the different things. A lot of people like to wear red because they believe that empowers them. So red underwear, all that sort of thing. That's what they do. And it's like, your frequency when you connect to the spirit world is going to go up anyway, so I don't really think that all those things that we do help us to connect to the spirit world better. I think we can do that naturally anyway. It's just that it makes us feel better that we've done all the rituals and all the things beforehand. So
Yeah.
if we
I
feel
think
comfortable, then we can work.
yeah, it's all about us. It's just us picking up our things that we like to do in order. We all have that tendency that we want to have a bit of some kind of ritual, but we just have to understand that in mediumship, even if you don't have the time to do the ritual, it'll still work just the same. I think that's the key there. So
Yeah.
we do have another. Sue is wondering, so spirits are attracted to the medium too.
Yes.
I believe, yes, I believe that they it's almost like they're orchestrating everything up there, and your guides there, the medium, the people in the spirit world are attracted to our light. They watch us to see how we work, to see if they can work with us, and go from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like the person in the spirit world has already chosen their medium for the private sitting or for the demonstration before the mediums even turned up. They've already seen them. They've already seen them work. They've already observed them and said, that's my medium. That's who I'm going to use. That's who I'm going to come through.
And usually it's about 6 weeks in advance that they already know that this is going to take place.
Yeah.
Usually.
And also, like, the demonstration has already taken place in the spirit world, and they're already happy with the success. So we turn up and we do it, and then we might knock ourselves about a bit. It could have been better, or this could have been better, but we shouldn't do that, because the spirit world have already celebrated the success, because they've already practiced it before we even got there, And I think that's the thing, because I've had some very difficult sitters. Sometimes you get someone coming in, not only do they want evidence from the one person in the spirit world, they want evidence from another person in the spirit world, and then they want the evidence from this. Then they also want to know about their own life and how they can solve all the problems in their life as well. But also they want to know about their family members and how is that. And they expect you as a medium in 45 minutes to do it all, right? And they turn up, and then it's like, and the spirit world come through, and you bring through the first recipient, which they were looking for, and then you bring through the second one, and they're sitting there, it's like they're marking you. Don't know, that's okay. Don't know about that. And they're marking you. And then when you first connect with them and you said you really will need to work on yourself, then they're like, yeah, that was really spot on. And it's like they're marking you, and then they're sitting there opposite you like this with their arms crossed. And then you've got to think to yourself, are they really ready to have a private sitting with a medium? And I normally stop the sitting and say, I'm sorry, but I don't think you're really ready to have a private sitting with a medium, because and yeah, they probably want a healing thrown in with it as well. So it's like a cocktail that they're looking for, which medium can never mark all those points. So then it's time to say, okay, just to call them out, say, I don't think you're ready. I think you can better just go home and contemplate this, and then come back when you are ready. Because you could be going on for a whole 45 minutes and still not be good enough for what they're looking for. And it's happened to me twice, and it's funny, it was two ladies, but they were both the same sort of temperament, the same thing. And what happened was, in their own lives, they really needed to work on themselves, and they really needed the psychic connection. That's what they needed. But they were just reflecting what was going on with their life into the mediumship contact that was coming through. So, and it's just the way of saying, okay, then just let them go, and just say, okay, you need to come back another time. Take time to work on yourself. I even gave them advice. Said, if you go to another medium, please be a little bit more open. Be open to what's happening, and explain to them how it works. but it's somehow, because you're sensitives, you've got to be able to say, no, I stop here. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to fulfill all this. And when you stop, you save yourself losing energy by continuing trying to do your best. So that's something to mind of. Okay.
Sorry. I'm waiting for you to take a breath so I can jump in.
I don't breathe.
I had a different kind of an experience yesterday. I had a lady, she just recently lost her husband after a long illness with Alzheimer's. And she goes to the spiritual center that I go to, and she asked me, she said, I'm ready to have a reading. And, you know, so I agreed. I was reluctant, but I agreed. I didn't know if she was quite ready for it, but she's quite intuitive herself, and picks up on energy anyway. So I agreed to do it, but she sat on her couch in lotus position with her eyes closed for the whole reading.
Okay.
Which was different, which was very different. But as I was, her husband came first, and a friend of her husband's came, and I gave the evidence of both, and her responses were very, oh, maybe, and I'm like, okay. So I kept working with them, and I was giving evidence of this friend in the spirit world. And I said, I know that he was a friend of your husband's, and I want to go way back into his younger adulthood life. I know that they would have been in a place where there was water. I know they would have been on boats. I know that they would have gone out drinking and having a great time together. And she was like, oh, I don't know who it would be. I don't, And afterwards, so this was how the whole reading went. She wanted what she wanted was specific kinds of, she had in her mind what she wanted to hear. That's what it was. She had in her mind, and she thought, because she'd never had a reading before, she thought that I would bring her husband through, and I brought her son, she has a son in the spirit world, brought him through. She thought she'd be able to have an open conversation, as if I'm on the phone with them and putting it on speakerphone, where she could just talk and they would get answers. That was her thought, even though I had done explained to her how it was all going to work, because she'd never had a reading before. And I explained about the evidence and everything. And then afterwards, with the friend, she said, yeah, I know who that friend, because she's like, well, I don't know. Maybe it was a friend that, he had before me. And I'm like, nope, I know you would have been there. You would have known this gentleman. He has a wife, and I know the wife is still alive. And I know you guys did this, and this. I did all of that. Afterwards, she goes, yeah, that was David. Yeah, and we lived in Tahiti. And they owned a fleet of boats. What? But all through the reading, I was like, I don't know. And she's doing this, right? Maybe, I don't know who that would be. I don't know why he would come through. I don't know. Well, why would he come through? We haven't seen him in years. I'm like, and I had to stop in the middle of the reading and explain. I said, even though it may be somebody that he hasn't seen in years, the friendship bond is still there. And I said, he wants you to know that he's hooked up with his friend, and that they're carrying on and they're catching up on the good times, So you it never ceases to amaze me what's going to happen in a reading, but that's exactly how she was. And it was a difficult reading in a way, because she wouldn't accept a lot of it until after the reading was over with, and then she confirmed everything. And I was like, okay. But she did. She wanted specific stuff. She had it in her mind that it was going to go a certain way, and it didn't go that way. So afterwards, I had to give her a little lesson and explain to her that this is the way it works. Again,
Which do you prefer, Kay? Private reading, stand-up demo, to a large group, and why?
you know, that's a hard one. I like doing stand-up. It's one of my favorites. I love doing platform. Which is really odd because I'm a very shy person, but I love doing platform. But what I have found since coming to the States, that I'm finding a new love of working one-on-one. In England, I would have said hands down, I love platform, but have really been enjoying doing private readings since I've moved back to the States. So I'm kind of on the fence there. I still love platform.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love platform because platform is, if you're working as an evidential medium from British style, and that's what I do, you can prove to a lot of people that life continues and that life goes on. And that's what I do love about platform, that you can reach a greater group, and show them that life continues. But all it's doing is opening the door to people, opening to the possibility that they then can go and have a private sitting with someone and know that spirit can communicate. So that's the one thing I love about platform. I think because the way my brother died, the moment he died, he wanted to prove to me that life continued. And because he did that, I knew that it was my job to do that, to prove that life continues. Private sittings, I love private sittings. Platform I love purely because it's also being of service, right? You're being of service to a greater audience. But private sittings is also being of service, and it's being of service to spirit, and you can be more intimate in it. So if I was to say where is, I love it all, you know. I couldn't say one or the other.
One of the reasons why I like the private sittings is, like you said, Jason, you can be more intimate, you know, you can get more personal with them. But for me, it feels like the healing process can be so much more greater in a private sitting. So if you have somebody who's really mourning the loss of a loved one, even if it was 4 or 5 years ago, or you have a parent who's lost a child and that child comes through and they're able to connect and feel the essence of that child. The healing process to me just feels so strong when it's one-on-one. Whereas versus if you're in a public demonstration, you have to be careful of the information that you give. You can't get too personal. No. And it's a very, you know, quick contact. You can't go on forever. They're very short. So we were trained to do 7 minutes or less for contact in a platform demonstration. So you can't do as much, but it does open them up to, maybe I do want to go and do a private reading, you know. But it is all in the big scheme of things, our whole purpose is to be of service to spirit. That's our whole purpose.
So Becky writes, that is interesting about choosing the medium. I did a day course, stood in front of a group for the first time, and a person came through, apparently doesn't usually come through, and I was told that they were waiting for me. I felt like I was pulled up to the front and was a bit of a whirlwind. Great experience for the first time. Long way to go though. So it just shows you, Becky, that spirit was waiting for you. Then we've got Lee Shanks. I'm working on something like missing person case. Can I somehow get the spirit to share more information that is directly helpful? How they passed, where they can be found, who is responsible, or do I just let them come through in bits and pieces? If spirit chooses me, why not be more helpful? Yeah, good question. The thing is about working missing persons cases, and you've got to be really, really specific with the police. You can't say, I've got a feeling, because they don't understand that. You've got to say, I've got evidence. I know this, and they expect evidence. So you could ask the spirit person to share information with you like that. But again, you're working with a person in the spirit world, and they may be able to, or they may feel like they're able to, or they may not feel that they're able to. It depends on how they're feeling it, right?
Right.
With missing persons, like if we're talking about the people that might have been murdered or anything like that, it's like it can come very bitty and vague, and yeah, you've basically got to connect with the spirit person and said, let's do this together, and you've got to come up with something that's quite concrete before you can pass it on to the police, because the police are not going to take any hunches. They're not going to take any, they're only going to take evidence. And that's something to become aware of, Lee, that if you're doing that, make sure that you've got a good connection and you've got evidence. And practice, because one thing you can do, you can psychically go through your vision and go into the video and see what's going on, but you can go with the spirit world with the spirit world's eyes and see the crime scene or stuff like that, because we practiced that years ago with Tony Stockwell, because he does psychic detective work, or used to do psychic detective work. He doesn't anymore. He now teaches it to a certain degree. And it was good to experiment in that way. But the thing is, you've got to be really, really specific with the stuff that you get.
Mm. Yeah.
Cool, it's that time already, Kay.
I know. Yeah. Now, I did have a young boy who came through that was murdered. And the trial had already taken place. And he gave me information for the family, because the people that went on trial for his murder they weren't sentenced. They were deemed innocent. But he brought through the evidence for the family. And there was one witness that would not testify or wouldn't come forward. And the family believed that witness, that this person was a witness, but she said she wasn't because she didn't want to testify. So, Lee, that happened with me, and it was really interesting because he did give me details of how the murder took place, and he gave me details of who was present, but then he also gave me the details of this girl who watched it. And so it didn't get to really help with the case or anything, but it gave the family confirmation that they were right, that their hunters were right, because he brought that through.
Yeah, Lee says tending to share more memories and life stuff, I think, to help their loved ones believe, question mark. I asked Spirit to confirm with energy, sing if it's evidence versus memories, but way more memories. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It can be very comforting to the loved ones to know that they're around, and that's goodly, but yeah, it's where is Spirit leading you? And that's the thing. Are they leading you to do casework, or are they leading you just to help the loved ones in that moment in time? There's someone there that understands them and can bring through those memories of, it may be, it's just to see what sort of medium you are and how is it going to unfold. And it's for everyone different. I mean, I came into it and I did the Tony Stockwell detective work, and that was great. And I even got information about other things, but because the police are so, they want so much evidence, they want it to have it like that, and of course they have the right to have it like that. That's how they want it. It's like, do you need to do that, or are you there just to help the loved ones that are left behind? And in spiritualism, they say we believe in communication with angels, and I believe in earth angels, and they're angels that are of service to other people. And you might be one of those that is there at the right time, at the right space, to hold space for people that need it, going through these troubled times. And there's a lot of people that are mediums that may be that as well, that are there to hold space for others at the time that are going through grieving problems. I think we can end it, okay, about there. Yeah.
So thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for coming. Lovely speaking to you all.
Thank you for today. It's amazing. I love these classes.
Great.
Well, it's good to just have time to just ask questions, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was wonderful, guys. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
All right, guys. We'll see you. Are we doing this next week, Jason, or no, or what?
I think next week, next Tuesday. Okay. We may be trying to. We are trying to experiment with new things. So it may be that we try to do this via YouTube Live. So it's like a bit like Facebook Live, but it's YouTube Live. So we may be trying to do it through that. We're gonna have a go. But you will be, everyone will be kept up to date what we're going to be doing.
How do you do that through YouTube?
I don't know yet. I've tried to do it for this one. I tried to stream this live through it, and I haven't worked it out yet. But maybe by next week I've worked it out.
Okay, thank you.
But what you can do is you can share links, and it's quite interesting. I can just quickly show you a link, Control C, which if you guys want to look at that, that's, if I was streaming, that's where I'd be. And it says it's just waiting for Mediums Academy. So it's really just waiting for me to stream. But I can't. So I'm still learning.
Just wanting to figure it out.
Still figuring it out. So that's Mediums Academy channel. We are planning to do it. We're still figuring it out. Once we get it all worked out, we're hoping that it will be fun, something new, and maybe more stable than Facebook. But we shall see.
Yeah,
we shall see.
Alrighty then. We shall see you guys next week. We'll let you know how we're going to broadcast.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.